iPhone 13 on us for every customer. Current, new, everyone. To show the love.
How about sushi?
I just had sushi for lunch yesterday.
How about tacos?
Automatic emergency braking, one of 6 advanced safety features standard on every 2022 Chevy Equinox. Find new technology. Find new roads. Chevrolet.
I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and it's time to get wealthy. You're going to learn exactly what you need to do to finally achieve the level of financial success you desire and you deserve. So I know you've heard of, the 3 little bears. You probably heard of the Berenstain Bears. Well, today we're going to talk about 4 bears that are teaching kids and families the way to build wealth and gain the financial literacy you need to navigate the financial system. My guest is a CFP, and he kept having his clients ask him, how do I teach my kids about money? And so he's created a platform to do just that. So here are the 3 things they don't want you to know about what it means to teach kids financial literacy. The first thing is, kids model your behavior. So however you're behaving with your money is probably how they're going to behave with theirs. Secondly, financial ignorance is expensive. And so the lack of financial knowledge from childbirth on really impacts our ability to create and build the wealth that we need. And then finally, the knowledge of how to build wealth is inherited. And so often, because our parents didn't know how to manage money or the sophisticated things that you needed to know, we probably don't know either. And that's why I'm excited to have our guest on today. Matt Gardner is a certified financial planner. And what a certified financial planner is someone who's gained a lot of knowledge, not just about money, but about financial planning holistically. So he has a lot of clients, and they were asking him about how to teach their kids about money. And so he's created a financial literacy platform, and it's called the 4 Bears of Berryville. But at any rate, I don't have to tell you all about it because he's here with me today. So Matt Gardner, welcome to Get Wealthy.
Deborah, how are you doing today, ma'am?
I'm doing great. I was so excited. I know that this isn't your first book on money, but what I love about what you're doing with the 4 Bears of Berryville is you're not just focused on investing, you're really focused on teaching folks about how money works, is how I like to term it. So I want to just start by asking you, where was the genesis of this idea?
So the first book that I wrote is titled Motivate Your Money. And I wrote that book. Really, it took a while. I have blessed really to spend 20 plus years in the financial services industry. And I was working with people that had substantial wealth, but it was eye-opening that they really didn't have a lot of basic financial planning or financial education, the difference between a term insurance and permanent insurance, why an IRA or 401k is better for long-term growth. And so that's when I wrote Motivate Your Money for adults. I share my Mac Nuggets. I like to simplify things for clients because our industry can be very complex. And so by breaking things down, making them simple for folks to understand, that's what I was looking to achieve with my first book. Then something kept coming up. Specifically, one of my clients came to me and said, Mac, she was serving on the board of Jack and Jill in Houston. And she said, Mac, love the Mac Nuggets, love the first book, love how you break things down and make things simple for folks to understand. Would you be open to writing something for children? And that is how the 4 Money Bears came to be. It's a book to help parents who probably never got that financial literacy, financial education experience and exposure at any point in their life, to be able to start the conversation in a fun and entertaining way with their young children as early as elementary school.
As early as elementary school. And I'm so glad you said that, because people often ask me, well, when's the best time to start investing? Or when's the best time to start teaching your kids about money? And often I say it's at birth. And so at Get Wealthy, we have a framework on this show, and it's called Mindset, Strategy, Execution, the framework for achieving financial success. And so that's exactly where I want to start with you today, Mac, and it is mindset. And you said something I thought was really poignant about your own clients, that you can have a lot of money, but you may not necessarily know how to manage that money. And so to that end, I want to start with the mindset that parents need to take. Well, let's start here. I want to start with the mindset that had you create something like as simplistic as the Bears. Why was that so important?
In my first book, I talk about the 5 steps to financial success. And these were steps that the people I had been working with over the years were doing unbeknownst to them. But here are the 5 steps that we determined to financial success. Number 1, plan accordingly. You've got to have a plan, some sort of plan, budget, worksheet to get to that goal. 2, spend cautiously. 3, save diligently. 4, invest wisely. And 5, give generously. And we do it in that order because if you can't spend cautiously, then you won't have anything to save. And if you don't have anything to save, it's hard to invest. And if you can't get that far down the road, it's really hard to give. So around the framework of the fact that there's only 4 things you can do with money: spend it, save it, invest it, or give it away, we decided to create these 4 bears. And if you remember the cover, intentionally made 2 of the bears boys, 2 of the bears girls, intentionally made the bears different colors and shapes and sizes as an overt nod to the need for more diversity and inclusion in the education space and the advisory space. So that's really what we were looking to do, is to make it simple and to share the story. The story that was actually the story of me and my wife taking our kids to the grocery store, to the store on the weekends, and many families are familiar with this. And the first place the kids run off to is the toy section. And you have to kind of ask and wonder, though we are fortunate to be able to buy them something whenever we go, they really had no understanding or realization of what their options were with it. They knew they can spend stuff, use it to spend, and they knew they could put in a piggy bank, but they weren't aware of these 2 other very important functions of money: investing and giving. So that's what we're looking to do with the 4 Money Bears, is to open the awareness of young people and the parents to say that, hey, you've got options when you go to the store. You have choices when you go to the store. And to open the mindset up from just 2 functions of it to 4.
And, it's interesting that you said that, because I believe that the way my parents didn't talk about money, all I knew was that, my parents worked, my father was sort of like the typical head of the family, breadwinner. He managed most of the money. And if I just asked for something, I was told yes or no, oftentimes no more than I would like. And if it was to say yes, then it was, maybe not exactly what I wanted, but maybe something that, resembled what I asked for.
Close to it.
I tell this story often, and it's about one Christmas I wanted this Chatty Cathy doll. And so the Chatty Cathy doll, its eyes blink, you could feed it water and so on. It was more like and it talked. Well, that morning when I woke up, this doll didn't blink and it didn't talk, right? It looked like a Chatty Cathy, but it wasn't a Chatty Cathy. And so in my mind, what my earliest thought of the power of money and choice is that I said I would be able to make my money and get exactly what I wanted, right? Not like a imitation of something. And so to that end, I really feel like in terms of mindset with kids, that so much of that is transactional. I ask for something, I want, I get it. And so talk to us a little bit about how we need to be helping our kids to develop these mindsets around money that you discuss in your book.
So the book, when we released it to the world, and we are so fortunate, we actually have, our book is purchased globally, England, France, Italy, Canada, to show that financial literacy or literacy is not just a U.S. problem, it's a global issue. But the book really was created so that when a child gets money, right, they at least have a better understanding of what their options are. Right? I talk about the 3 R's of our relationship with money. A child gets a dollar bill or a $5 bill and they realize what it is, it's money. The second R is they recognize what it does. Okay, I can spend it, I can save it. And then the third is they can then rationalize it. So what we're really trying to do at an early age here through our book and through our platforms is to socialize and get into a child's head that habits, behaviors, traits, the habits that you start early, right? They develop into the behaviors, and then they inevitably become the traits of who you are as a person, financially wealthy and financially well. So that's what we're looking to do through the book. And we talked about the right age. Actually, want to share this with everyone out there. There's a Cambridge study that shows us that a child's connectivity with money starts as early as age 7, sometimes as early as age 5. So that's what we want to do through the book and through the app that we're developing, right, is to start socializing financial education at a very early age so that young people, the stories that they have in their lives, the story about this is what we do with our money, we don't just spend it all and buy Nike sneakers or whatever. We actually can now invest in Nike. We can invest in all these other things. We can give back to our community. So that's really what we want parents to do through our platforms, is just start the conversation early and have the right tools necessary to do so.
Yeah, and lastly, it's interesting. I love the way you brought up how early that, that study, I would say it, in my case, even earlier, so I think my first realization, you said the 3 R's, right? My own realization about money was very early, and I connected that to Christmas and there being this one big payday, that I could ask for something and basically get it. And so I would submit to you that that's probably true of a lot of children. And then, in terms of the parents' own mindset around money, and you bring up that there are those other 2 categories, and that's invest, grow it, right? And then give it away. And so how much have you found that the parents' own mindset, whether it's, maybe a poverty mindset, scarcity, or abundance, influences their child's, as you said, behaviors and habits around money?
One of the studies that we did some research on shows that the first habit a child picks up is their parents' spending habit, right? We do this thing called the $100 bill challenge. And I did it because I was speaking to these elementary school students, and I'm like, okay, I got to find a way to capture these kids' attention, man. All these kids running around and, playing and stuff. So I keep a $100 bill on me in my wallet, and I take the $100 bill out and I will ask these young people, if I gave you this $100 bill, what would you do with it? And the 9 out of 10 folks, the response is they would spend it. So what that showed us, and I've done this many, many times. In fact, I open all of my speaking engagements to schools with that $100 bill challenge. What it shows is that children, for the most part, are conditioned to consume. And the reason why they're conditioned to consume is because we live in a commercial capitalist-based society, right, where they're seeing commercials all the time. They're seeing things to spend their money. And if the parent, whether from an abundance or from a scarcity mindset, if they've never had that knowledge and financial background and education to be able to drop into this child's mindset that they have these options, it can be catastrophic, because I've worked with people who don't necessarily have a lot of funds, and the children don't get the education. I've also worked with people that have substantial money, but because they never got that education and those tools to pass on to their kids, the children don't have that knowledge. So it's fascinating that you asked that question. We think it really boils down to the tools and the resources that are available to start the education process as early as possible.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because when we come back, that's exactly where we're going, talking about mindset, certainly, and how your own mindset influences your kids and they're modeling your behaviors. And that was powerful, Mac, about habits, really being developed at such an early age. And when we come back, I want to get into strategies, and that's strategies of how you can get your children on the right footing, give them the kind of information that they need so that they can become financially savvy and financially literate. So when we come back, we're going into strategy.
Let's be honest, as successful women, we're crushing it. Maxed out 401k and Roth IRA? Check. Aggressive savings and investments? Check. Yet, the freedom our success was supposed to buy can leave us stuck on the six-figure hamster wheel, watching retirement slip further down the road. There's another way. Get coaching courses and community at wealthyu.com.
Love our new Alexa.
It's a Buick.
Yeah, Alexa.
Buick.
Alexa.
It's a Buick.
It's an Alexa. It's a Buick. It's an Alexa. Coach, that's a Buick. That's an Alexa.
The Buick Enclave with available Alexa built in.
Pull up a chair. Take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Verizon just gave us all a brand new iPhone 13.
We've been customers for years. I thought new phones were for new customers. We got iPhone 13s too, switched to Verizon 2 minutes ago.
Ours were busted, and we still got a shiny new one.
Check it out. So wait, everybody gets the same great deal.
I think that's the point.
iPhone 13 on us for every customer. Current, new, everyone. On any unlimited plan, starting at just $35. All on the network more people rely on.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Deborah Owens, and I'm having a fascinating conversation with Matt Gardner, who is the author of the 4 Money Bears. And he's really talking about how your habits and behaviors are developed at a very young age and what parents can do about it. But also, how can it inform you in becoming financially literate too? So, Matt, thank you so much for just sharing, more like real studies and, your own. I thought that $100 bill, what would kids do with it? I bet you they got that. You got their attention.
Oh, yeah.
They thought maybe you were going to give it to them.
Oh no! I tell them from jump. You're not. No answer is going to get you this $100 bill.
I thought, okay, Max just giving up $100 bills. But now I want to go into strategy, because one of the reasons that you wrote this book, you certainly conveyed the fact that, the 4 uses of money, the framework that you used with your, adult clients, you now had to find a way to share that with children. And so now what I want to go into is you have the book, and now you're talking about a platform that is more of it. Is it gamification, or how are you kind of elevating from just a book to now helping people integrate it into their lives?
One of the big replies that we got in responses from the book, 2 actually. Parents would read the book with their kids, love the book. Mac, thank you so much. We never got this. You're actually teaching me some stuff. What's a stock? What's a bond? Real estate, precious metals, who to give to, all that great stuff. But 2 responses and replies we got back. 1, Mac, are you working on a book to teach kids about how to make money? Right, that was 1. The second is, Mac, are you developing an app or some sort of gamified platform of the 4 money bears? And here's why. Children are learning differently. Children are utilizing phones, digital devices, iPads, Android, all these different devices, not just at home, but in school, right? And so when we were sitting down and talking to different folks, we wanted to be able to develop a gamified solution. And the reason why it's gamified is we're working to gamify the financial education process, because if your target demographic is children between the ages of 5 and 11, if it's not gamified, they're not going to want to mess with it, right? We want to be able to meet the user where they are. And that's sadly one of the issues that we've seen in financial literacy curriculum is it a lot of times over people's heads. So that's why it had to be gamified. 2, the game, the 4 Money Bears Berryville that we're developing, allows the user to play in what we call both sides of the personal finance fence. It's a farming game. You inherit your family's berry farm, right? And you are learning about entrepreneurialism because you own a business. The other side of the fence is the money management side. So once you get that money indoors, in your hands, in your pockets, we'll have quizzes and quests and different things to help teach young people about what those options are. And those 4 bears will serve as guides, as Sherpas on their journey. And we've developed a new methodology, a new way of teaching financial literacy, and we call it our TAT method. Our platform is going to be able to teach financial literacy, analyze how the user is integrated and working in the game. And more importantly, Deborah, this is huge. We're going to be able to track the progress over time. Financial literacy is not a one and done. You give a kid a book like, hey, read this and you're financial literate. Remember, habits, behaviors, traits. We want to be able to convey and show that because these young people are playing this game and are forming these mindsets early, over time, we can show that we're having financial success by utilizing this game in certain communities and underlooked communities and underserved communities, overlooked communities. So that's sort of the big picture of what we're trying to do here, is to not just have the financial literacy, but provide the tools, the financial capability, which is through fintech, to get eventual financial wellness.
Well, it is interesting that you kind of, so typically you're talking more about investing, and I do find it interesting that you've incorporated entrepreneurship into it. As you shared, they inherit the Berryville farm, and now they've got to figure out how you actually manage a business. Why did you feel like that aspect of it was so important? Because, and I want to just help you understand why I asked the question, is because one of the things that has become evident to me is that in our society, even though entrepreneurship and business is incentivized, it kind of baked in our tax system, and that you get certain benefits if you're, really for job creation. You get certain benefits, and tax-wise, it's more beneficial. But we're basically taught to be earners, right, as opposed to business owners. And I found that with my own journey through entrepreneurship, is that many of the companies that I saw, or women who were very successful and had built multi-million-dollar businesses, they didn't start them. Typically, that was inherited, right? And so to that end, talk to our audience a little bit about why you need both sides of the equation to understand how it works, money works overall.
Yeah, so many ways to go with that question. When a child first gets their experience with money, one of the first things you hear in our society, a kid wants to go and start a lemonade stand, right? Right? Hey, let's grab some lemons. Let's go out there. Let's put our table out and put some lemonade so that they can start earning money. Right? We view the 4 Money Bears Berryville game as a child's on-ramp to their digital financial literacy journey. Right? So it's in essence just a a digital lemonade stand. Why that's important? You see, why that's important is that we want to be able to show young people as well as old, right? This game isn't just for elementary school kids. It's a game, anybody can play it. But the importance of how you can control your earning ability, right? Which whether your path is to become an entrepreneur or not, just understanding that you have to put in work in order for money to get to you, no matter if you're 1099 or W-2, right? And I can't tell you how many times I've worked with folks who have started businesses, and for whatever reason, they picked up good traction on that entrepreneur side. But when it came to the managing on the money side, were not that successful because they never had that guidance. So they'd make a lot of money, but they weren't managing it effectively or efficiently to either take care of the family, grow the business, so on and so forth. So that's why I think it's so important for young people to understand both sides of that fence, understand the importance and why it's important to be an entrepreneur and make money. But then once you've got the money in the door, you've got to learn how to manage it and manage it effectively and efficiently.
Well, I do think, though, and, one of the things that I've done in the past is I created a curriculum that really, the gist of it, the objective was really to compare how the same way you manage your money is the same way a company has to manage theirs, right? So you're earning an income, they're bringing in sales and revenues. And I do think that's a very effective way of really meeting people where they are. Now, these were adults, certainly, and then helping them it be easier for them to understand the concept of actually analyzing and researching a company. So when I saw you start with that, certainly it's from an entrepreneurial standpoint and maybe not multiple employees and that sort of thing. I do feel like that's the missing link. I do feel like, and I hope even with your game, that there is a way for people to marry the two, right? Like you started your own company. You earn money, maybe you went into the workforce, but now you can invest in other companies and you know how they did it. So I feel like in our society, because we have what I call the income mindset and we've taught to be earners, not necessarily business owners as opposed to entrepreneur, because there is a difference, right? Like I'm sure you have a lot of self-employed clients as opposed to business owners. And so I just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
When I talk to folks about money, and I love that you brought this up, the day you earn your first dollar, you are in essence a business, right? I talk about this concept of a FinBod. A human body has muscle, bone, tissue, so on and so forth, but a human body eventually will die, right? There's a limited amount of time. A financial body can last for generations. Here's what I mean. I would ask people kind of flippantly, hey, do you remember the name of your great grandfather or grandmother? Most people laugh like, no, I don't remember that. So the Rockefellers do, the DuPonts do, the Carnegies do. Do you know why? Because there's a trust with those great-great-great-grandparents' names that's providing them an income. That financial body that was created generations ago is still alive and still helping all these people. And so once folks can get into this mindset that the decisions that they're making, those 3 R's, the realization of what money is, right? The recognition of what it does, and then the rationalization of how to use it. Once people start understanding, oh, hold up, I can actually use this to build things, and my money can actually work harder for me than I can work for my money. Let's really start doing this investing and doing it long term. And then imagine this, Deborah. Imagine these conversations had by a 7-year-old, that a 7-year-old has started investing. Imagine the runway that child now has to be able to invest and build and have so many different options. I just think that's why, technology and the game that we're building can really make some amazing impact into the lives of so many people, so many communities. And when we talk about the wealth gap, I think the best way to close that wealth gap is through education and knowledge and providing technology to get that stuff through.
You'll have no argument from me there, Mac. I mean, I truly believe that the wealth gap is a knowledge gap.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I used to think the wealth gap was a knowledge gap, but it's also a knowledge and an application gap, right? And so that's what you're really talking about, what you're really inventing, you know, what you're creating on this platform. That whole gamification is you must do, right? Not just watch.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing I would say that was fascinating about how you're helping people discover that there's a difference between income and wealth, right? Mm-hmm. So there's one thing earning it versus really looking at your financial decisions based on not how your actions are going to impact you today, but how they would impact you from generation to generation. And then you make different decisions, right? Because that is a wealth mindset. And when you begin to make your decisions based on the long-term implication of whatever outcome you're going to produce, you're going to make different decisions.
1,000%. And one of the things that is hindering folks from making that is the knowledge, one, the capital. You know, if you are in a home or household where financial decisions had been made up to a point that are relatively restricted to spending, saving, and we talked a little bit about this before we jumped on the call. You know, some people, the way the industry works is if you answer an RTQ and you're not that knowledgeable of investor, a lot of these firms will put you in a very conservative model.
So just what you used an acronym, and that RTQ is what I want you to define.
Sorry, a risk tolerance questionnaire. Sorry, sometimes I jump into lingo land.
That's okay. I'm here to interpret.
So if you have people based upon the lack of knowledge and based upon the lack of assets being placed into investments that aren't necessarily going to grow over time, and if you chop up the stock market in any sort of 10-year block, you're going to get about a 9.7% rate of return. That's having it invested long-term in the market. So if you have households that either don't have the ability to save, right, based upon whatever factors that are going on there, and if you can't save, how can you invest, right? And if you can't get up that rung of that ladder, it's hard to have that abundance mindset or to think about, what's going to benefit my kids. And so that's why we think it's so important to start that education process as early as possible and help young people at least be aware that, hey, if you start doing these things with your money now, it doesn't take a lot. That's another misconception people have about wealth management, money management. They think you need to have hundreds of thousands of dollars to invest. No, you don't. You just need to jump on the ride and be involved. You know, people say the stock market is not about timing the market, it's about time in the market. And if we can start having stories and conversations being had by 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11-year-olds about, hey, I just bought Nike stock, I just bought Starbucks stock. Oh, mom, dad, you know, the tools are now available to us. And we haven't talked about those fintech resources that are out now that allow a parent to not just have that conversation, but to buy fractional shares of these companies and put it in the kids' names.
Well, I'm so glad that we're having this discussion, because when we come back, I really want to talk about execution. And it's based on something that you said in this segment about you don't need a lot of money to invest. You just need to get on the runway. When we get back, I want to talk about execution and some of the baked in systemic obstacles that are really preventing people from doing just that. So when we come back, folks, we're going to talk about, okay, you've heard Mac talk about this book, how to teach your kids about investing, you know, how the mindset and parents' own behaviors really impact how the habits, if you will, that their children adopt going forward. Next, I want to talk about how you actually execute on some of the information that you're learning today. So don't go anywhere, folks. We'll be right back.
Verizon just gave us all a brand new iPhone 13.
We've been customers for years. We got iPhone 13s too. Switched 2 minutes ago, literally right before this.
iPhone 13 on us on any unlimited plan for every customer, with plans starting at just $35. All on the network more people rely on.
Love our new Alexa.
It's a Buick.
Yeah, Alexa.
Buick.
Alexa.
It's a Buick.
It's an Alexa. It's a Buick. It's an Alexa. Coach, that's a Buick. That's an Alexa.
The Buick Enclave with available Alexa built-in.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and this is Get Wealthy. And if you've got kids, I want to make sure you have them come join in the conversation. Or if you have other family members that you know should be hearing this information about how to build and help kids be financially literate, financially smart, financially savvy, so that they can learn how to build wealth at an early age. That's what our conversation is about today with Matt Gardner. He's a CFP and also author of The 4 Money Bears. He is creating a financial literacy application, really with gamification built in, so that kids can have fun while they're learning about money. So Mac, fascinating conversation. Love how you talked about mindset and also strategies, right? So now I want to get into execution because, of course, one of the things that we agree on is that the wealth gap is a knowledge gap, but more importantly, it's also an application gap. And so you said something really interesting in the last segment about the fact that it doesn't take a lot of money to invest. Like, so many people think you need hundreds of thousands of dollars. But here's what's fascinating that I've learned since launching Wealthy You, and it is that many people are reaching out to investment companies, and because they don't have a certain amount of assets, they are being asked to just fill out that RTQ. And because they don't know the impact that the questions they're talking about in terms of risk, I say, oh, well, I don't have a knowledge. They're being kind of put into like lower risk, lower performing funds, when in fact they should be, in more growth oriented types of investments. So talk to our audience a little bit about what are some strategies that they can use to execute on what we're talking about today.
Yeah, so when I would sit down with clients, there are these little, I guess, Mac nuggets, but they've been around, so I can't take full credit for them. But I talk about the rule of 100 when looking at it, putting together a portfolio, how much should be stock, how much should be bond. And so the rule of 100 pretty much states that if you're 20 years old and you're starting off your journey, first job, you have a 401k plan, you want to start putting money away, you take 100, you subtract your age, 80% of that portfolio should be in equities and then 20% should be in bonds. And really, just a rule of thumb, right? It's not the same for everyone. But what that shows people is that as you get closer to retirement, let's just say you're in your 60s or let's say 70s, rule of 100 states that you take 100, subtract your age, 70% of your portfolio should be in safer type of assets because you can't afford volatility, especially if you're going to need to generate income. And then the remaining should be in equity. So your age should be your fixed income and the difference should be in equity. So those are little rules of thumb that are out there. The rule of 72. A lot of times when we're sitting down with folks, people say, well, okay, Mac, when can you double my money? I was like, hey, you want to know when? There's actually a formula for it. If we can get 10% rate of return on your portfolio, 72 divided by 10 equals 7.2. Your money, if we can get you 10%, will double in 7.2 years. And why that's a powerful tool is when we're talking to people about the power of inflation, and if inflation's chugging along at about 3%, right? That means that the stuff that you're buying today will double in cost in about 20 something years. So, or even more powerful, if you keep your money invested in something that is only earning you 1%, and we talk about the rule of 72, your money won't double for 72 years, right? So it's these little bits of knowledge, right, that are important to be able to share with folks. And so when we're looking at developing our game, we want to be able to provide these resources so that folks can implement this knowledge. And technology, I say there's a bunch of tech out there that can help you do stuff with your money, right? I can take out a $500,000 mortgage on my phone right now. Invest, I can do that on my phone. Banking, I can do that on my phone. Insurance, I can do that on my phone. We think that fintech, there's a huge opportunity because there's not a lot of stuff out there that teaches you what to do with your money and provides those strategies and those ways for implementation. So that's why we created Finlit Tech, is to build that bridge between financial.
Yeah, but I would say, so my point is this, Mac, it's that if I am listening to you and I say, yes, my kids need to invest, I need to invest, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm told I don't need a lot of money, then what is the next step? Now I do, one of the things I'm a big advocate, talk about Finlit Tech is once I get this knowledge, look, I can apply it, and there's so many channels now, right? So you've got apps like Stash App that allow you to invest as little as $5 or $10, at a time. So in mutual funds, and whether it's Stash App or who am I thinking of? Robinhood, has a platform more about stock trading. But the point I was making is that, for example, even using the rule of 72 and using the formula of 100, when I started out, I'm dating myself, more than 2 decades ago, we've been using that formula, the rule of 100, right? And now what we know is that our life expectancy is so much longer. And so now the risk isn't dying too soon, it's living too long. And so even in that case, if I were to get to like retirement age of 70, do you still feel like that 70, the only 30% should be in equities or stocks? Let me not talk too technically. Not only 30% invested in the stock market. Is that not still too conservative? So
I agree with you. It depends. When you're sitting down with clients, right, you do a full profile of them and you find out they may be 70 years old, but that stack of money is not for them. It's for their children or their grandchildren. They're not going to park that in 70% fixed income. They're going to put that in equities. It depends. That whole rule of 100 I use because what I see way too often in our communities, I'll give you a story. Young man, maybe the first in his family to go to college, maybe the first in his family to get a great job and have a 401k. I cannot tell you how many times I hear young people say, oh yeah, I've got my money in a 401k. Oh, great. Okay, how's it invested? It's all 100% in mutual funds. No, you've got the right vehicle, but you've got the wrong engine in your vehicle. And so I share that rule of 100 so that people have this understanding of why they should have more stock in their portfolios when they're younger, as opposed to when they're older or later on in life. If you're looking at, let's say, a retirement portfolio. And you're right, longevity is the thing that's really scaring folks that are closer there. What did they say? 10,000 baby boomers turning 65 a day for the next 20 years. But I think when we're talking about introducing financial literacy to younger people, we got to simplify stuff and at least give them these little nuggets to hold on to so that they're not in their 20s in their first 401k plan and they've got all of it sitting in the money market, Yeah,
I mean, I guess that's really the issue, right? Yeah. The fact that the wealth gap that knowledge gap is really preventing people for making the kind of decisions and informed decisions, understanding risk and what will happen, right? Understanding the risk reward, like if I'm too conservative, my money's not gonna grow. But I think there's even the other side. And what's interesting is that, and I wanted to touch on this a little bit, Ariel just came out with a study, and part of it was on cryptocurrency and the fact that African Americans are over indexing. In fact, in African American households, they have more cryptocurrency than the majority, and it was almost characterized as if they're really looking to make money fast. And so that's one aspect of it. But what I really want to get on is that I almost feel like part of it, like the older people were too conservative, and now the younger people who haven't really experienced a significant downturn in the markets like we have, being in this industry.
Twice.
How do you convey, right? How do you convey that you have to take calculated risk, and just thinking that you're going to make, like you have the past 10 years, 15% a year is off the medium?
And I keep beating this dead horse, Deborah, but it's really education. It really is. You and I understand what the term volatility means. You and I understand what a risk profile is. You and I understand that cash is extremely conservative, and yes, it'll be there. It's great for short-term goals, things that less than 1 year, emergency funds, so on and so forth. But if you're looking at a long-term goal to fund, probably the worst place to have your money to fund those goals. And I think we have these generations, and technology is changing so much. And this new place that we're living in now, right, where cash isn't being used as often as it was. I can't tell you how many people say, "Hey, Mac, are you actually going to create something that teaches kids about cryptocurrency?" We've actually developed a character. His name is Crypto Cat. It's on the whiteboard, and we're going to be introducing him as the app develops. We also have Banker Box Turtle, Lender Lion, Omnibus Owl. So we know that these things and these resources are out there, and they are changing how people engage with their finances. We know that people are using debit cards on a regular basis, not using cash as much. And because of that, Deborah, the need for knowledge is so much greater, right, than it may have been in the past. Because now things are just in this digital space. You have to understand what those four functions of money, and investing, cryptocurrency falls squarely into that space. But if you don't understand that there's volatility, it's just a cool trend.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad you brought that up, because there is so much information and there is a need for knowledge, but that's the point. There's so much information. And so oftentimes what I find are people are overwhelmed, right? Like they've read every book, they've read your book, they've read my book, and that's shelf development, right? Like they didn't apply anything that they learned. So when we come back, it's our Analyze, Optimize, Maximize segment. And I really want to kind of pull together everything that we've talked about in terms of mindset, strategy, and execution. If I'm a parent watching this program, what do I need to do to execute on the information that we've shared today? So don't go anywhere. We're talking kids and money, families and money. We'll be right back.
How about sushi?
I just had sushi for lunch yesterday.
How about tacos?
Automatic emergency braking, one of 6 advanced safety features standard on every 2022 Chevy Equinox. Find new technology. Find new roads. Chevrolet.
We're all impacted by the culture, whether we know it or not. From politics to music and entertainment, it's a huge part of our lives, and we're going to talk about it every day right here on The Culture with me, Faraji Muhammad, only on the Black Star Network.
Are the only
come out till you die. And you eat him, you eat him.
Oh my God.
We're having a conversation about kids, family, money. I hope you're enjoying this show. I'm certainly so glad that we're really bringing this topic where it needs to be. And this is in the home. We need to be having these conversations because as parents, we're impacting our kids. My conversation today is with Matt Gardner, certified financial planner, author of The 4 Money Bears, and we're talking about also a platform that he's developing. So welcome back, Matt Gardner. Now I want to talk about, let's bring this thing home for our viewers. Analyze, optimize, maximize. So the analyze part of it is, okay, I know I need to have these conversations with kids. How do I, where do I need to start? Just in looking at my own situation and maybe how I've been complicit in maybe raising children who aren't as money savvy.
The first step to take is the introduction of the concepts. And that's where our book, I think, can be very helpful, can be very beneficial. Competence breeds confidence, right? When you're confident about something, you know something, in any aspect of your life, you feel very confident about it. Because financial literacy isn't taught in schools, and it really isn't taught in a lot of places, fact for folks out there, there are 23 states that offer/provide, require financial literacy by high school, right? So that means there are 27 states that don't. But we've already discussed and determined, Deborah, that the financial literacy conversation starts as early as age 7, because that's when these habits start forming for our children. So the first thing you want to do is really just sit down and have a conversation about money. And again, find tools. They're a great tool. My book is a great tool. There are tons of wonderful tools that are out there for elementary school children to just get a basic understanding of the functions of money, how money can help them. So that's step 1.
Step 2, though, so how do I analyze, optimize? How do I optimize? Let's say, and I'm glad you brought that up, how do people actually get access to your book, The 4 Money Bears?
So you can access our book on Amazon. It seems you can buy everything on Amazon now. We've got boxes popping up on our doorstep on a regular basis. You can buy both Motivate Your Money as well as The 4 Money Bears on Amazon. And if you go to the4moneybears.com, you can actually download the demo of our app. And you and your young kids can go on there and start getting familiar with the 4 Money Bears and harvesting berries and taking care of the farm. So that's the best way at this moment, is to go to the4moneybears.com to download the app, or you can go to Amazon to buy the book.
And then maximize, like if I'm a family and I want to be able to take this information and actually start integrating it into, our kind of like, what do you suggest? A family meeting monthly? How often would you kind of engage in the tools?
The book is a tool and resource that you can. We've had families that's the good night book, that's the go to sleep book for weeks on end. We've also had families that read it one time and then 2 or 3 years later, hey, you know what, this cool book, let's pull it out and start reading it. So the book is a great tool for those, as needed engagements. Hey, you want to refresh, do some things. That's why we're developing the app, so that we can have a more engaging experience that can last longer periods of time so that we can actually track the progress. I will also like to mention there are a couple of other tools that are out there. You may be familiar with Tanya Van Court. She runs Goal Setter, which is a great tool, great app, teaches kids about financial literacy, teaches them about banking. The kids get a debit card, can do things that way. Evan Leaphart runs a program called Kitty Credit. That's a huge area that young people need to have a better understanding about. So there are tools that are out there that are being developed by brothers and sisters in this, what I call the FinLit tech space, to help you as a parent really start not just having the education, but implementing these strategies through technology.
Oh, that's excellent. Mac, I can't thank you enough for providing our audience with additional tools. Again, you can get the book for Money Bears, Matt Gardner, CFP, and through Amazon. And I want to go right into what are the 3 takeaways from today's show. First off is that financial literacy is a family affair. If you've learned nothing else in today's show, you've learned that how you manage your money is exactly how your kids are going to manage theirs. So that means you've got to start teaching your kids as soon as possible. That study blew your mind. 7 years, kids are already developing their financial habits. And then finally, financial literacy is a life skill. If you don't understand how to manage your money will manage you. And with that, I want to thank you so much for joining us on Get Wealthy today. I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and we'll see you next time.
How about sushi?
I just had sushi for lunch yesterday.
How about tacos?
Automatic emergency braking, one of 6 advanced safety features standard on every 2022 Chevy Equinox. Find new technology. Find new roads. Chevrolet.
It's time to be smart.
Roland Martin's doing this every day.
Oh, no punches!
Thank you, Roland Martin, for always giving voice to the issues.
Look for Roland Martin in the whirlwind, to quote Marcus Garvey again.
The video looks phenomenal, so I'm really excited to see it on my big screen.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
I got to defer to the brilliance of Dr. Carr and to the brilliance of the Black Star Network.
I am rolling with Roland all the way.
Honored to be on a show that you own. A black man owns the show.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now. Roland was amazing on that.
Stay black. I love y'all.
I can't commend you enough about this platform that you've created for us to be able to share who we are, what we're doing in the world, and the impact that we're having.
Let's be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
You dig?